So our event today is about introduction to Git and GitHub. So basically, Git is a version control system that allows us to keep track of changes as we continue with our project. So what people do in Git is basically when you have a project that involves a lot of people, as you subdivide your modules to different developers, Git allows people to contribute to at different levels. Everyone can do their work at their own local machine, and when the whole code is done, they can now merge the changes to one common repository. And mostly today we're going to talk about a repository called GitHub. GitHub by Microsoft. But before we begin, let's look at a little history about Git. Git basically was developed by Linus Torvalds, the man who developed Linux OS in 2005, which was later bought by Microsoft. And basically from then, it has over 15 No. Sorry for that. I had a hitch in my network. But now, can you guys hear me?
Oh, yes, we can. Do.
Yes,
I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for that small hitch. Yeah. So let me go back to my presentation. So basically, Git has since been under development by Microsoft, and hence we come to another term, GitHub. But before we proceed, Git is open source, which means its source code is out there for developers to use from for their if they want to fix bugs, if something is that's the meaning of open source, and it's a distributed it's a distributed version control system, which means every developer can access Git via their own local machine. I hope I'm clear till there.
Are you still sharing a screen?
Yeah.
You can't see your screen.
You can't see me. I'm so.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yeah, now I can see it.
Okay. So as I was saying, Git is open source and distribute. Can we please mute our mics so that we can be on one meeting, please? All right. So let's continue. So today we're going to learn about Git, GitHub version control, and we'll do a few examples, a few live examples. Just a minute. Can who's this? Joshua, can you kindly mute your mic? Thank you. So let me go on with my presentation. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I'll take you through what Git is, what GitHub is, and how you can open an account using GitHub and start collaborating, start doing open source projects. So before we begin, if you want to, if your net is fast enough, you can follow along. But basically, you need to, if you want to download Git, just go to Chrome. Let's go to Chrome and type Git. And you'll see a screen that's written download Git for Windows. I'll show you downloading for Windows because I don't have a Mac right now. But basically, it's almost the same procedure. So you just come here and click download. When you click download, it automatically starts downloading from the bottom of your screen. That's that. When you're done, you install it. Here we have Git. Just a second. When you're done downloading, you can just come here to and run. let's wait for it for a minute. Sorry. Here it comes. And click enter. I think I've downloaded it more than once. This is the interface that's going to show. So you're going to click next, the defaults, next. Just go with the defaults that are in the interface. Next, next, next. And install. Okay, so I've already installed mine. This is what this is what it basically looks like. Okay, just a minute. This is what it basically looks like. We are going to interact with it as we go on. Now that you're done installing Git, we'll go to GitHub. GitHub is a cloud-based service that's used for hosting repositories. And repositories are basically where you store your code. It's where you store your code, basically. And by remote repository for GitHub means they have their own servers in the cloud. So to join GitHub, you just go to github.com. github.com. I already have an account, but I'll show you.
Victor, can you share your whole screen? Because we're only seeing your slides.
Oh, okay. All right, GitHub. Can you see my browser window?
Yeah.
Okay. So as I was saying, from GitHub uses Git to track changes as you develop apps and do stuff like that. And so GitHub basically uses the concept of Git. And I'm going to show you how to create an account. GitHub.com. You just go to their website and click GitHub, sign up, join GitHub. For me, I already have my account. After you've registered, this is what GitHub basically looks like. And this brings us to our next exciting part of working with GitHub, which is more engaging. You're going to see how commands, how files are transferred from your computer to the cloud using GitHub. Using a few commands, I'm going to show you. Let's go back to our slides for a while. Let's go back to our slides for a moment. Wait. Just a minute. Can you see my slides?
No.
No. Okay. Okay. Right. Just 2 minutes. Okay, we're back. So let's go back. I've showed you how you can create an account. It's basically just going to their website and creating an account. And we're going to use a few examples. Simple code using Python. How you'll see from a file getting, when you type a simple hello world file and adding it, committing it. I'm going to show you all that. Yeah, there are a few commands I need to show you. But before then, there's this site called, it's a command line interface for GitHub. It's called Git Bash, and that's what we're going to use. This is Git Bash. I hope. Let me show you in a second. Just a minute. Okay, this is Git Bash. It's a command line interface for Git, and we are going to. Okay, we're first going, as I said, since we've now created. Let's assume we've created a GitHub account. Let's go to GitHub, and I'll show you how everything goes on. Let me show you. Chrome. Let's go to my account. This is my account. This is my GitHub account. I have a few repositories. So you'll come here and to repositories and add a new one. Add a new repo. As I said, a repo is like a storage for code, but now GitHub uses cloud to store it. So we'll create a new repository, as you can see here. I'm the owner. Will come when you create your own account. You'll be the owner. The repository name, you can name it learning Git, and then we can describe class introduction to Git. You can make it private or public, but private repositories are usually paid versions, so we'll just use the public one. We can add a README file. A README file is basically it tells anyone who's visiting GitHub what your code is about. If it's about, I don't know, calculating grades, whatever it's about. So we can just add a README file here and then click create repository. Just a second. Now we have our repository. It's created. As you can see, we'll add a few. As we said, README tells people what your code is about. So we'll come here and add something. Let's say we'll put code about let's just say it's about fighting hunger. Our code is about fighting, and when you're done, you commit the changes. You come here and commit the change, and as you can see, it latest commit, which is here. If you check the history, it says committed now. We've committed that change. We'll just go back a little bit. So after this is when now we're going to start interacting with Git bash, which is our CLI, and we'll start with a few commands like git clone. Let me show you how. So just a minute. So we've created a new repository and named it. We've made it public. We've created a README file. So now we're going to git bash, our command line interface. This is now I'm going to show you git bash. Just a second. This is git bash. Let me, I was working on something. Let me go back a few. So we'll check our first command, which is git clone, and how it's used. Let me show you. Just a second. Git clone. Where are my slides? Git clone is a command for downloading existing code from a remote repository. And as we said, our remote repository is GitHub. So if we want to take code from GitHub and put it in our computer, you can, instead of going and downloading, you can just write a simple command, git clone, and it downloads the code to where you want it in your computer. For example, we'll come here, and cloning, as we know, cloning is like creating a duplicate or something that, yeah, it's like a duplicate of what was there. So we'll go back to Git. We'll go back to GitHub. This is Git. GitHub is the app. So we'll go back to GitHub. Okay, just 1 second. Go back to GitHub. We'll go back to GitHub, to our repository. This is our repo that we created. It's called Learning Git. So what you do, and I want you to listen carefully. This is the first step of Git. This is where you begin now writing commands with Git. You come to this green button, written code. This is where you download the code and put it to your local computer. So you just click here and click the clipboard to copy the link. Just do that. The clipboard and come to Git bash and type git clone. Okay, let's create before then let's just create where we want our downloaded code to go in our local computer. Let's just create a folder very quickly. Let's create a folder. Easy. We're going to create a folder at and it's advisable if you're mostly if you are beginning with programming and all. It's a good practice to put your code in C drive. For example, I'm going to put my new folder. We're going to name it. What do we call it? Let's call it Learning Git. Learning Git. I wrote leaning. Anyway, rename learning Git. We'll go back to Git bash, and we'll print our working directory. Our working directory, we want to know, for example, right now we can see the directory is at C Python, which is okay, but the computer can tell you through a command. Just write pwd print working directory, and it shows you you're at C Python. That's why we created our folder that's called Learning Git. So we'll check the files that are here, and you can see Learning Git is here. So we'll open Learning Git. And now that this is where we want our code to be downloaded to, we're going to put that command called git clone, and we're going to paste that code here. And we'll see what happens. As you can see, it has cloned our code to a computer, which brings us to our next command. I'm going to show you where the code has went and how everything is, what is going on to anyone who might be confused. I'm going to show you basically what is going on. So go back to our slides a little bit. So we've cloned, and so after cloning, we'll go to our next command, which is called git status. Git status basically gives us information about the branch we are working on or the repo we are working on. So we will check our We'll check if our repository is there by git. We can put ls. As we can see, our repo was just a minute. Git status. Just a second. And there's someone whose mic is not muted. It's really interrupting. Please, if your mic is on, thank you. So let's go back to our slides for a minute. We are done with git clone, and our code is on our local computer now. We're going now to start by creating a simple code using Python, a print code, and see if Git really tracks changes to our files as we continue progressing with coding. So I am going to open. I'm going to use Visual Studio. Visual Studio for this. I'm going to use Visual Studio. But before then, let's go to our repo. Our repository. When I say repo, I mean repository, which is learning Git. Cd learning Git, and I don't know if let me clear real quick. As you can see here, there's a name that has popped up, main. This is our main branch. This is our source code. So this is where we're going to be. Basically, this is where when you're starting, when you build something new, this is the main branch. That's what it basically means. So we're inside our repo, and we want to manipulate a few files and see how Git tracks the changes. I'm going to go very quickly to my IDE. I'm going to use Visual Studio. Let me open it real quick. We're going to file. We want to open this folder that we created, where our code from GitHub has been downloaded. So we go to open folder. Open folder, we named it learning Git, so I'm going to select it. The comp is a little bit slow, don't worry. Okay. As we wait. you guys still there? You still, as we wait?
There's a question for you in the chat.
Okay, there's a question. All right. Where do you see? Yeah, Victor, I am doing exactly that. I am as you can see, I went to VS Code and navigated to where my file, where I saved my file. Where do you save? You should save documents in Drive C. It's a good practice. Basically, it's not that it can't run from the desktop or anything. It's just a good practice as you continue being a developer. And sometimes I don't know if you've heard of stuff like partitioning. When you partition your computer, let's say you've saved your file on the desktop and you're running your code, it's heavy code, it's taking so much space, and the desktop has stuff running too. So I think basically it's good practice to save stuff in a certain drive. It doesn't have to be Drive C, but for me, I prefer Drive C. It's just a good practice, Victor. Are you contented with my answer, or should I explain more? Okay. Okay, we'll okay. Okay, let's first switch to Visual Studio real quick and check if our code is ready. Let's go to Visual Studio. We can see this is a folder. We opened a folder. We created a folder called Learning Kit, and we've navigated to the folder. So as you can see, it was successfully cloned to a computer. As you can see, this is a README file that we created. It's here. Our code is about fighting hunger, and this work, it happened just like magic. But basically, it's not hard. But it's cool, right? I mean, it happened just by one command. It got out of GitHub and went to your local machine. So we're going to start by a simple Python code. Let me create a new file and call it hungry.py. hungry.py. Py is an extension for Python. For our new developers or people who are starting to do coding, there are a few extensions that you put after saving a file. And the most amazing thing about Visual Studio is it also has, you can download an extension for version control. As you can see here, source control. It shows you have changes, but we are not going to go into that today. So we're going to run a simple Python code and call it Okay, print, we're going to, just a print statement, print, I am hungry. And run. Just 1 second as it loads. It's taking long. Don't worry. Okay. Let's just give it a second. I am hungry. As you can see, you can look here. Anyway, basically, my point is, so we're going to manipulate this file and see if GitHub tracks changes. So where is this? Let me go real quick to my presentation, to my slides real quick. Wait. So I've put in a simple Python code. I'm going to run the code git status and now see if Git really kept track of what I was doing with my file system. Let me show you my git bash. Real quick, git status. Nice. Something interesting happened. As you can see, it says git status on your branch main. This branch, your branch is up to date. But there are untracked files called hungry.py. What that means is Git. So how Git works? It creates snapshots of code as you continue to progress. So Git saw some changes in your file, and that's why it's saying they're untracked. So what do you do after this? What you do is after this you add the files that you add the file to the staging area. When you see a file in red in GitHub, there are three points in a GitHub lifecycle, a Git lifecycle. First one is when you're changing the file, when you're writing in your local computer, and then when you add, you put it to a staging area. After staging, you commit. I'm going to show you what basically happens. But now, let's run this command called git add to place our code to the staging area. So git add hungry.py. Then we'll check the status of our code, which means to check if this was now put to a staging area. So we're just going to do git status. Nice. What does it say? It says git status on branch main. Your branch is up to date. Changes to be committed. It says it was now staged. So our next step is committing. Committing basically means when you have a file, when you commit it, now you take it to Git, to a local database, local Git database in your computer, where you can now comfortably, if you lost your file, you can very easily go back and check what happened. So let's do git commit. Okay, let me take you to a slide and show you a few, just something small here. Go back. So as we see here, before we saw a file that was in red text. Yes.
Victor, I can't hear you clearly.
You can't? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So let me show you. So the red file that was there, which let me hover real quick here. The red file that was here before, this one, it shows that it was not staged. And when we put this code git add, it staged the file to the staging area, which is right about here. Let me show you real quick. And on our next slide, this is how Git works. This is a working directory. This is where you're typing code, like for example in our Python. I hope you can see my slide. Yeah. And then there's a staging area, then there's a local repository. So after git add, we're going to put it to a local repository, which is your local computer. And then we'll put it in a remote repository, which is the cloud-based repository, which is GitHub. And now we are 2 steps from there. So we'll go back real quick. Let me show you. Go back. We'll go now to git add, as we said. After you made your changes, after you made the change locally for a file, to get committed to get committed to the version control system, a user has to send the file to the staging area, as I said. So git add adds a change in the working directory to the staging area. And when it's staged, it appears in green color, as we saw here. It appeared in green color. Here, it shows that the file was staged. So we're going to, now from staging, we commit. Now committing takes it to our local repository, which is now our computer's Git. Git we downloaded locally in our computer. So git commit, and then we write a message that you want to commit. Let's say, I guess, I'm not hungry anymore. Right, we'll commit that. No, before we commit, yeah, we'll commit it. Just a minute. Yeah. There's a problem there. Git commit hungry anymore. Right. Just a minute. Before, let me solve that. So commit is basically adds changes to your local version control database, in this case your computer. So let me clear something here. Just 1 minute. Sorry about that. One second. I made an error here. Just give me 1 minute, guys. Okay, sorry. Let's go back to Git. There's a problem with my commit. Sorry. Thank you for being patient. Let me go back here. So let's check. We have this file. We have this file that we wanted to commit, and we're supposed to run code called git commit and put the git commit, and then put the message, I am no longer hungry. And then, oh no, what happened? Okay. Just 1 second. I think it's because I'm not running it on. Just 1 second. Apologies. Let me see if there are any answers. Any questions that I could be answering as I saw that problem. Just 1 second. All right. Almost there. We're almost done, guys. Don't just be patient. Just in the next 10 minutes, we'll be done. So we should be done in the next 10 minutes. Let's commit our let's make our commit right now. So git status. So we're going to commit. We're going to commit our message. Yeah, this should work. Yeah, let me enhance my font. As you can see, it has been committed. But this doesn't mean that the code is in our it's not yet in GitHub, it's in our local computer. So there's one more step that we need to do for our code to get from Git, from our local computer Git to the remote Git, and that is Git. So before then, we're going to git push. That's our last command. But before we put git push, we're going to look at something here. Git log. Git log shows a summary or history of all your commits, what you've done. So let me show you in just 1 second. Git log. Git log. As you see, it shows all the commits that you've made. Like here, we said I'm no longer hungry. These are our commits. It shows the date. It shows that when it took place. This was our initial commit. It took place at around 5:41 and this one took place at 6:19. So we'll quickly do a git push. No, before then, we'll check our repository. This is our repository. We'll refresh it. As you can see, it only has 2 commits. It has 2 commits. So when we write this command called git push, let me show you in just a second. Git push now takes the code from our local repository to our remote repository. Let's put enter and see what happens. Nice. As you can see, all our code now has been pushed to a remote repository, and to prove that is correct, we're going to go back to our GitHub and refresh. You can see our file is here, hungry.py. Is hungry.py, it's here, and this is the code. We have the commits. You can click here to check all the commits that took place. These are the commits plus the time, and so basically that's GitHub, and that's how GitHub works, and that's how version control works. It shows you what took place at exactly what time and who did that. And I think we shall summarize. By having a question session where you may ask your questions. Let me bring it back. Let me go back to my slides. Yeah, that's it for today. With Git and GitHub, there's still so much to learn, but that was just an introduction of how code is, as you can, in summary, we see how we got code from GitHub, cloned it to a local computer, and then we modified it and then sent it back using commands, and it tracked all our changes. And so I think that's really the way to go for a developer. In development life, you're going to need GitHub in your whole journey. Mostly you'll be using GitHub because sometimes it gets tiring when you have a small error and you don't know what happened. Maybe you pressed a small comma, and basically I think that's it. And it takes me to our next place, our next segment, which is question and answer, where you get to ask me questions and I get to answer. Let me go back to this. If any one of you needs those slides, I can send you any help whatsoever. So yeah, that's it. That's my time. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being patient. Okay, so does anyone have a question? Does anyone have a question, guys? Any questions? Comments? Yes.
Na hizo stat zetu ama tungoje?
Sat ziko zinakuja. I want to take, it's for people who participated, so I'll check my attendance and I'll send it to them, and then by tomorrow, tonight, kesho, by tomorrow tawatumia. Let's say kesho, give me tomorrow, tawatumia. So you can just send me your emails. I don't know. You can send me your emails and then I'll send. I think that's easier, right?
Yeah.
Shadra. Yeah. And nitumie emails, then tawatumia. Yeah. Kuna mtu mwingine ako na swali? Anyone else who has a question? Any questions before we end our session?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Maybe
Victor. Yeah.
A compliment.
Yeah.
Actually, the session was good, yes. And when are we having the next?
We can do that in let's say next week, a time like now, or I'll send. Are you in any group of Microsoft? But mostly,
Yes.
I'll in a week's time we'll have our next event. It's going to be about introduction to data science. It's going to be interesting, writing.
Yes.
Basically, yeah.
Sounds interesting.
I'll send the details. Any more questions? Thank you, Victor. Do you have any more questions, guys? Did we understand Git? Did we like the idea of Git? Is it something you'd like to interact with? What do you think? Can I get your views? Okay. Then.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I learned a lot from this session. It was awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Alex. Okay, that said, I think we are going to end our meeting. I will send those certificates through your emails. I'll check if I don't send you, maybe because of an error because some emails were not valid. You can just text me. I'll just leave my number here in the chat. All right. Okay, there's this question I saw, git pull. Oh, good, git push. Oh, nice. We'll cover that in the next as we go on. I'll cover that because my slide. Okay, I didn't have that slide. That slide was. I'll cover that in the next session. So I think that's it for today. Thank you everyone for attending. It's been amazing. Thank you for listening to me. I'm honored. And I guess if you have any query, any problem, you can just feel free. I'm almost online every time. You can text me by WhatsApp or email or call. And basically, that's it. Thank you very much. And have a nice evening. Thank you, guys. Good night. Bye-bye. We can now end.
Goodbye. Thank you, man.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.